Hey everybody, this is Bill Murphy of MMORPG.com, here with Paul Sage, the creative director of Elder Scrolls Online. Hey Paul.
Hi.
Good to see you, man. It's been a while. Okay, we're going to get a couple of the hard questions out of the way first. Yesterday you guys announced the Xbox One and PS4 coming out in spring. Also, that's a release date delay. Maybe cry. Why? What's happening?
So why to both questions?
Yeah.
First off, I think the team is really excited about consoles. It's a way to bring the game to more people, honestly, and that's super important. We're absolutely committed to making sure, regardless of platform, it's the best game possible. And then for release date, although we announce things at the same time, they don't necessarily have anything to do with each other.
Yeah.
And this is just about going through beta, making sure the game is absolutely as good as it can be when it ships. And I think that's something that everybody can get behind. I know it's disappointing that it gets delayed, but at the same time, we want to just make sure that when we release it, it's released to the players in a way that's just awesome.
We asked Brian just before, and people may see this interview beforehand or not, but are you guys aiming to go simultaneous across if you can, so that Xbox, PS4, and PC all launch, and Mac all launch at the same time?
Yeah, so we have scheduled the same release window, which is spring 2014. But what's more important, and probably what's most important, is that each platform is delivered to the highest quality possible.
Okay, so it's when it's ready kind of deal.
Yeah.
Which means you Mac users don't ever get yours. No, I'm kidding. All right, well, let's talk about some of the stuff that we talked tons of PvP with Brian. So let's talk about crafting and how that's coming along. You guys did a lot of crafting reveals pretty recently, but one big one is fishing. So what's fishing all about in Elder Scrolls Online?
So fishing, when I play games, like there's times I want to go out and I want to fight. There's times I want to quest. And then there's sometimes, I just want to hang out with my friends and I just want to, maybe chat, maybe have, it tends to be what I like to call Zen activities, right? So there's those moments in the game where you're just wanting to sit around and have fun. And fishing's a great way to just get in. I want to fish. We have different baits you can use, and that'll help influence which fish you catch, as well as the location of where you are influences which fish you catch. So eventually, I know there's going to be tables released, and people are like, okay, this is absolutely the best bait for this thing.
Here's the spreadsheet.
Yeah, here's the spreadsheet.
Now, will you be able? Obviously, you can fish in Cyrodiil then, and you'll be sitting there enjoying your Zen activity and get ganked from behind.
What could be better?
Yeah.
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise, right? Now, what can you use fishing for? Can it be used in stuff like, the other crafting professions and things like that?
Fishing allows you to make different recipes for the proficiency class, which is really cooking.
Yeah.
So when you get, different fish, then you'll get new food that you can make out of the fish, which grants you new buffs.
Yeah. And all of that, for people who don't know, all of the crafting is more exploratory than here's a set list of recipes, go and just get these ingredients, right? So if you were to get a bass fish, you could be like, I'm going to make some sea bass. And then you could get other ingredients from other professions and make like a special sea bass, right?
Yeah, so you get sea bass surprise,
sea bass pie.
Yeah, sea bass a la Nernroot, right? So yeah, it's one of those things where I think the experimentation is one of the great things about the system. Finding out what each of the different additives do, finding out the properties they have, and then starting to pair up your additives or even triple up your additives to see what can I make from these things.
And is fishing a very interactive process? You said you have like the lures and the baits and stuff like that. Is it sort of just like a click, wait, click, or do you actually have to interact, like partake in fishing?
Yeah, again, it's a Zen activity, so getting the right amount of interaction was really important to the team. And the way it currently stands, you cast your bait out into the water, and then you kind of watch your bobber, you watch and see how it's going to do, and then when it goes under, you reel your fish in. Or you pull your fish in, but
it's not river runs through it.
Exactly. But yeah, I think there's just about the right amount of activity for something like that, and I think it makes it a lot of fun.
Without having to be hardcore. Unless you do it in Cyrodiil, then it's hardcore fishing.
Yeah.
And it's like something on like the Travel Channel. It'll be really cool.
Right.
All right, well, let's talk about something else that's kind of new for that you guys are just really starting to talk about, mounts. Please elaborate.
So mounts is something that we haven't talked much about, but I'm pretty happy with the mount system. It's basically more a system where you start out with a basic mount, or you can start out with different levels of mounts, and then you get to decide how you want your mount to grow. So you actually feed your mount and you can feed it apples or oats or
Fish.
yeah, maybe not fish. But then depending on which ingredient you feed your horse, they'll grow in certain ways. So maybe they'll carry more items for you,
Really?
or maybe they'll have more stamina so you can sprint longer with the horse, or maybe just the basic horse speed will be
Yeah.
faster, right? And so I fully expect people to have horse racing in the game, and say,
Yeah.
hey, my mount's better than yours. And I think that's going to be one of those fun emergent activities. And, it really kind of attaches you to your horse. So, yes, of course, you get to name your horse, and you get to have multiple horses.
And you get to gear it up. Can you put like armor and stuff like that? The ESO game or Elder Scrolls games were famous for having like add-ons you could buy. Like, can I dress my horse up?
So as you level your horse up, one of the ways we kind of show you that is visually. So it's not so much what you add to it, it's more how it grows or how you choose to make it grow.
And somebody will know that your horse is an epic horse.
That's right.
Is there going to be mounted combat?
For now, there's not
For
going to
now,
be
there's
mounted
not.
combat.
Because I can imagine that would be pretty crazy in
Yeah.
Cyrodiil.
Yeah.
But again, look at that. Hardcore horse racing in Cyrodiil. I'm just going to keep throwing all these ideas out there.
All right.
And then when you need to pay me, just tell me.
Okay.
I'll give you my bank routing number, social security, all that stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
It goes both ways.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the social systems. I know way back in October when we visited the studio, you talked briefly about how you kind of want everybody to be able to play together and play with who they want to play with. Is that still the same thing, where you can make like a checklist of what you want, the kind of people you want to play with, all that stuff?
Right. So what we have right now is we have kind of a smart system in the background. The smart system tries to pair you up, and when we say pair you up, what we mean is we have different what we call internally channels.
Yeah.
Where, for instance, if you're in Daggerfall, the city, and your friend is in Daggerfall, the city, but you can't see each other, you might be in a different channel. But the game's going to be smart about that, so hopefully that won't happen. So your friend and you will actually see each other because the game will say, oh, well, you're friends with this person, and we'll kind of wait it for you to go into that channel. Now, that can't be always perfect
Yeah.
because you might have two friends, and then which one does it pair you up with because they're in different channels, right? But we try to be really smart about that, and then if you don't get paired up automatically by the system, then you can just jump to your friend, right, in that channel. So what that means is that you'll just get to play with your friends when you want to play with your friends.
Good. And now, if you wanted to, say you wanted to be like, I don't know, there was something, an activity that you wanted to focus on. Could you make it so that you're focusing on that activity and you're playing with other players that focus on that, like dungeons and stuff like that?
So absolutely, there'll be things you can do where we actually have a system where it's a looking for group system, and that'll allow you to pair up with other players who are in like-minded activities. Once you've discovered a dungeon, you'll be able to travel to that dungeon again. It makes it really simple for you to get in. Like, let's say all you want to do today was go to dungeons.
Yeah.
No problem. You just go to your dungeon,
Like
right?
fast travels in
Yeah,
Elder
you just go to
Scrolls
the
games,
dungeon. Yeah, exactly. Because we think it's important not only just to be able to play with your friends, but to be able to go do what you want to do.
What you want to do,
Yes.
yeah. And you can progress in any way, shape, and form. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you're making progress, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So PvP, progress. Dungeons, progress. Crafting, will you actually level up crafting and your other professions too? Or is it just crafting that you want?
Absolutely. So the way crafting works right now, and again, you're in beta, everything's subject to change, but basically the way crafting works is that when you craft something or when you do something important in crafting, like maybe it's the first time you've made a certain item, or maybe you're discovering a new trait to an additive. Yes. That once you discover that, then that's kind of how your skill grows. And so again, there's only so many or points that you have for that skill growth in any of those professions. And so you could be really good at all of them, but to be the best, you're going to have to concentrate on one.
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about, we're just going to keep going back and forth because my brain is scattershot on energy drinks, but let's talk about the guild system if you can. Is there anything you can reel to us about how guilds will work? I mean, how will they be more than just a glorified chat channel?
So there's a lot of ways that there'll be not just a glorified chat channel. In fact, with anything, there'll be, we haven't talked about our guild bank, but there's another aspect that we haven't really talked about a lot, which is being able to trade within your guild and kind of have a large trading system set up for within your guild. So I think the guilds are going to be something that's really special that people get into. They're going to start to see like, I can put items in my bank for my other guild players. I have these chats, hopefully we'll get into the progression that we have, talked about for guilds. But
there's a guild progression system coming as well.
Well, now it's one of those things where at release we probably won't have a straight guild progression system, but it's one of those things that we're looking at, we're concentrating on it, and what we want to do is we want to get our core guild system out into beta and really see how people react to it in beta, because there's a lot of different systems. Gave you just a taste of some of what's there, and we'll be talking a lot more about all the little intricacies of guilds as we go on.
One thing that that Matt had said, I think, at the presentation back then, was that you'd be able to create a Facebook page and have people like it and join it, and that'll be your guild page, and then you could just import that into Elder Scrolls as part of the social connectedness. Is that still something that you guys are looking at?
So one of the things is that social media companies change their policy sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And so that isn't something that we have right now. One of the things I can tell you is that you'll be able to go to Elder Scrolls Online at some point. You'll be able to create a guild there, or have all of your guild members join there, and then they'll be ready to go in the
Awesome.
game.
Okay.
So anytime we can do something where we can get your real-world connections and put them into the game, we will.
And that's something I wanted, that kind of leads up to a final question, is one of the best things I think of another game that recently came out is that they have this sort of gateway that you can still do crafting and check on everything, and maybe even see guild chat and all that kind of stuff, and keep tabs on everything while you're not in the game. Is there something that ZeniMax Online Studios is looking at, so that if I'm at work and I can't play but I want to be connected, I can, like a mobile app or something like that?
It's always something we're looking at. So while we haven't announced anything specifically, we always look for things like that. We want to keep you as engaged as much as you want to stay engaged.
Yeah, because I want to be able to be it's 4 o'clock, I get to go home soon, and then I know that there's something going on in Cyrodiil, I'm heading there immediately.
Yeah. Hopefully Brian probably talked maybe a little bit about the leaderboards that are going to be available.
He talked about the leaderboards, yeah.
So we'll
and
have lots of little
that.
hooks like that go into the game,
Cool.
And we'll see where those show up.
And then lastly, how's the beta going? Obviously, you got a lot of great feedback. What's some of the best stuff you've learned so far from the beta test?
So the beta
three top things.
Yeah, the beta is great, right? I think one of the early things that we've seen are how much people can handle as far as difficulty, and I know that sounds really easy, as far as, but it's one of the best things that we start working out is okay, is it too easy, is it too difficult? So we look at lots of different statistics to see, okay, well, people were having an easy time with that, let's take that down. You test out things like your experience curve and making sure it kind of lines up with the content the way you'd predicted. We've been really pleased that it actually has in a lot of ways. And I think the reason that that's difficult for us in particular is because we just say, you can go anywhere you want, right? You can kind of do anything you want, and we try to limit the amount of gates on it. So we've been watching people play and seeing as they progress normally how that actually matches up, and it's matched up pretty well. And I think one of the other big things, and again, it might sound small, but is watching people react to just the game itself. So, and what I mean by that is, even when we say, this is the next Elder Scrolls, we want to get the player's opinion of that.
Yeah.
And so we hear constantly, okay, wow, that really did feel like an Elder Scrolls experience. I'm absolutely surprised. And so we got a lot of confirmation that was true. And then we'll get the other things where people say, but I sure wish this were true, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Parts that from a previous game that they wish were part of this one.
Right. And so, and sometimes you can go do exactly what they're asking for, and sometimes you can't. And but we've been pretty pleased overall. I think the response has been great. It's definitely in my long career, it's been one of the best betas I've been in.
That's fantastic. And then trying to think if there's anything else. Well, how about we'll turn it over to you. If there's something that you want to tell the people that now have to wait until spring, what would it be? And most honest, candid, go.
The best thing I would say is if you haven't signed up for beta, and you're one of those few that hasn't, please go do it. It's great for the game. It helps us a lot. I think you're going to have a lot of fun. I'd rather you play the game and kind of form your own opinions and then let us know. That's been great. Our motto has been just shut up and play. We shut up, you play, right? And that's been great to kind of watch people do. So not only that, the second one would be, pretty soon as we grow in beta, I'm really going to be looking for those people who are into Alliance War PvP. So, specifically, those are going to be things that we want to get tested out, and I can't wait to see that. And maybe I'll be there, maybe be a target for those people who are better than I am. But
it's always the devs that die first once that starts happening.
Yeah.
You know that. Well, Paul, I appreciate it. It's been great talking
Bill,
to you.
thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.